Halo is a fan-favorite game from 1999 that revolutionized the console gaming industry, with it putting an end to the funky-looking controller that I have had the pleasure of never touching. Also has extensive lore going back to World War II and 2 years ago as of the making of this video. And today, I will be retelling the entirety of it by just winging it. What that essentially means is that 1. I cannot look at any lore videos or brush up on the lore in any way. 2. To make this more interesting, I cannot be unsure of myself, even if I suspect that I am wrong, which is going to cause me to make a lot more mistakes. Mind you, I've been an avid Halo player for almost all my life, and I have played all mainline Halo games except for maybe ODST, but even with that track record, I'm still gonna miss big chunks of the story since I haven't consumed any Halo media outside of the games except for maybe half of Ghost of Onyx. But with that being said, let's get started. The story starts off with the Precursors, who are these godlike dudes who had the power to create things for the fun of it. And one day, they just randomly decided to create humanity and the Forerunners. And they lived in peace until the Precursors decided it was best to bestow the mantle of responsibility upon the humans. The Forerunners, though, just got a bit jelly. So they decided the best course of action was to kill them. Which started the Human Forerunner War, which did not go well for the humans since the Forerunners pulled the composer out of their bum and composed the humans back into cavemen. After the victory, the Forerunners were still not given the mantle of responsibility, and they decided to start the Forerunner Precursor War, which also didn't end well for the Precursors. And after they took many losses, the Precursors decided to turn themselves into dust for them to hopefully outlast the conflict. But it later becomes corrupted, turning them into the The Forerunners then proceeded to get their booties handed to them by the Flood, so in order to not look like a necromorph, they created the Greater Arc, which was used to make the Greater Ring, which were weapons to take out the Flood's food source. And by the request of some random, had all the things needed to bring life back to the galaxy, like trees, animals, minerals, and of course, salvia. The rings were managed by the Monitors, who were given orders to fire and exterminate all life if they even smell the Flood in you. And if you decide you don't agree, then you get... But the Flood decided that, nah, we'll just affect your circuitry, and took over the Monitors and the Greater Rings themselves. And they took these rings against the Forerunners, and then they drove them back all the way to the Greater Arc. The Flood then used these big tentacles to destroy the Greater Arc. The Forerunners, now defeated, create the Lesser Arc that we all love and cherish, which creates lesser rings that can't move around as much. The Forerunners used it against the Flood with high success, but the Forerunners had dwindled in numbers to near extinction, so many of them had to find their own little ways to preserve themselves. Like, per se, being shoved into balls, which isn't ever going to be important to the story. Ever. The Shan-Sayum are a species of long-necked aliens that found a bunch of artifacts from the Forerunners, and they were like, yeah, this stuff's fire, let's follow it. So they did, until they found Sanghelios, which contained a bunch of Sangheli, which were not particularly nice to the Shan, and they had a little conflict. And since only a handful of the Shan were proficient in fighting, and the rest were just share-sitting troglodytes, you can imagine who was winning the little scuffle. But the Shan managed to come to an agreement with the Sangheli and got them to buy into the Great Journey, and started the alliance called the Covenant. But it was still only 2 species, but the Shan knew some guys. So they went out, found some ships pirating, and talked them up. The Shan were like, yo, come join us or something. We got some tech you can steal and shit. And the Kigyar, also known as the Jackals, were like, shit, I don't know, dude. But after some persuasion, the Jackals joined for the lulz. And for a bit, the Covenant was doing fine, finding structures of foreign importance and advancing the Great Journey. But then they found a little planet called, Metmap, where the Ungoi were found. So the Covenant proceeded to get absolutely decimated. The Ungoi were destroying them, exploiting their ships, and killing their entire army, and they just got glassed. And they were forced to join the Covenant as grunts for their army. Later, the Covenant found a planet called Legolo Land, and found Legolo. Since they were pretty brainless, they just joined after a little conflict. And the engineers and drones later just appeared and just said, what's up, guys? And the Covenant were just cool with that, and I'm joined. The current human Halo lore starts off surprisingly early with the United Nations being formed in 1945, which later becomes the UNSC. They protected multiple human colonies from insurrectionists and terrorism. During this time, a new branch of military intelligence came to be, the One Naked Inspector, better known as ONI. They ran ethical experiments in order to advance the betterness of humanity, and one of their goals was to advance the effectiveness of soldiers, physically and mentally, called the Orion program, that brought together soldiers like Johnson and Forge to enhance their physical attributes, but it didn't bring out the results that they wanted. So they discontinued it, and Dr. Halsey was like, what if we just copy ancient Sparta and just kidnap children and train them?
Who the f starts a conversation like that? I just sat down.
But the futuristic twist is just that they pumped them full of drugs. So the ethical people over at ONI decided it was a good idea and let Halsey do it, with no interference at all. And the UNEC didn't give one either for some reason. So the Spartan program was created. Halsey personally picked out each child for their attributes, and for this random kid in particular, he got chosen because he scammed Halsey out of a quarter. I'm sure he's not important at all. Later, the kids on some random night all got kidnapped and taken to UNSC base, where they were vigorously put through tough training like having your name mispronounced.
My name's pronounced George.
And not getting lunch because you couldn't finish a death run IRL. After that, the hardest part of the Spartan training comes where they pump you full of harmful chemicals and hope you survive. Only 32 of the 64 survived the process, but now they all have a bunch of enhancements to their physical and mental. And the first thing a kid named John does is go to the gym and work out. But when a bunch of ODST go up to him and say,
"Hey, what's good, innit? Wanna spin another block or else we'll be forced to shiv ya?"
But John showed them the error of their ways and de-escalated the situation in a non-violent manner. After that, John, along with his quirky group of friends, Kelly, Fred, Linda, and Samuel, got new drift and went on their first mission against the insurrectionists. Away from the Spartans, some UNSC ships see some alien vessels that they've never seen before, so they try to contact them, but they either get ghosted or send death threats, and that was kind of the end to that, and nothing bad ever happened. Until cruisers find Harvest and start investigating the planet, and any humans that tried seeing what they were doing got into scuffles or died. So the humans arranged a meeting with the Covenant, and they aren't really agreeing on things, but what set everyone off was an engineer and a grunt who were messing around and then killed a guy by hitting them on the head, starting the Human Covenant War. And the Covenant start invading Harvest, and Johnson is there too, and you get to see his Johnson if you actually read Contact Harvest. But the Covenant don't stop at Harvest. They start invading other planets, and when they find there are no other Forerunner structures on said planet, they retreat and then glass the planet. The humans decided they needed more than a stick and a shared rock, so they rebranded the Spartans as alien-killing heroes, and definitely not government-killing machines meant to suppress anyone who slightly disagrees with them. What? After a while, the humans aren't doing too good, so they sent out John with his friends to go destroy a Covenant cruiser. So, to get into said cruiser, they tried their most favorite method of flying in with a jetpack and hoping for the best. They stick it with minor damage and proceed on to the core, where they realized the nuke they brought in wasn't working, so Samuel had to blow it up manually since his armor was damaged. So, the rest of the team escaped, and Sam fought off and exploded the nuke, killing Sam and Glipia. And John got promoted for protecting the planet that got glassed anyway, from whatever he was before to Master Chief. So now I can just stop calling him John. Surprisingly late into the video, we finally get to our first Halo game, that being Halo Wars, where we get introduced to the Spirit of Fire and its captain, that being Cutter, where he says, War. War.
Captain's report. February 4th, 25.
Never mind. And he talks about how the ongoing Battle of Harvest has been going since the last time it was talked about, and I just realized how long this video is going to be if I in-depth talk about all the Halo games, so I'm just going to skip a few details. So the only reason the Covenant haven't glassed the planet yet is because it still holds undiscovered Forerunner sites. And on one, they find bullshit and the Covenant go out, in which Anders says to go follow them as she found a Forerunner map. They stop along the way in Arcadia, which was the mission that pissed me off the most of all Halo levels. At Arcadia, they find out that the Covenant are going to some other planet, so they go on taking some Spartans with them, and they leave. They get to the planet, and Anders gets human napped by the Covies, and the Spirit of Fire is forced to take a passageway inside the planet. A lot of stuff happened, a MacGuffin is introduced, and we find out the planet needs to be destroyed. So they take out the ship's hyperdrive and make a plan to explode it at the planet's control room. So Forge and the Spartans go up and set everything up. The Prophet of Regret skadoodles out of there, and the Spartans kicks everyone's hiney. While that is happening, Forge is fighting the elite that was hailed Arbiter, and Forge wins the scuffle. And as he kicks the elite that was hailed Arbiter off, he repairs his masculinity and checks the hyperdrive. So the Spirit of Fire spams Warhogs to open up the hole and escape the exploding planet. But they realize without the hyperdrive they can't slip space, so they opt to cryosleep and hopefully someone finds them. 20-some years later, Colonel James Ackerson was being pressured to actually do something for his job by an Oni lady, who I imagine looks like the worm thing from SpongeBob with how she's described, or else he would be thrown out via airlock due to normal Oni protocol. So Ackerson thinks the Spartan-II program was a good idea, but the amount of them is kinda sucky, and I think the lady who ran it is kind of I'm gonna start my own. Which came the idea of the Spartan-III program, with more Spartans, a little more ethically sourced, and more stylish options. For recruitment, instead of straight kidnapping 5-year-olds, Ackerson just started enlisting 14-year-olds or older to the program, and put them through vigorous training, but not as vigorous as the 2s. So a lot more trainees survived, and when it came time for augmentations, the process had been advanced on, so more Spartans were made, 200 of them to be exact, with the only drawback being that the Spartan-IIIs were not as effective as the 2s. And when it came time to send them on missions, they did pretty good. But the UNSC did this nifty little thing where they decided the best course of action was to send them all into a planet where deadly battle was happening through drop pod with a vague goal, which unsurprisingly led to a lot of the 3s to die. But even with that, Oni was like, good, make more. So Ackerson had to develop a second wave of Spartan-IIIs, but he proposed to the Oni executives that they needed a better trainer and had the perfect candidate in mind. The book then goes to Master Chief and his team, with Kelly, Fred, Linda, and Kurt to replace Samuel. And they're infiltrating a rebel base with ease. They run into a little trouble, but they get through it, and they find out about another base in an abandoned shipyard in an orbiting planet. So they chicken it out, but they find nothing but some engine type thing. But all of a sudden, Kurt gets lured away further from the rest of the blue team and goes unconscious and wakes up on a random ship where Ackerson greets him and reveals this super stealth ship. And Ackerson wants Kurt to train the next wave of Spartan-IIIs, and he accepted. So he goes on to train the new Spartans with the main characters in this new wave. They trained until they all graduated and were sent off to take control of a planet being sieged by the Covenant, and the mission was successful, and absolutely no one died, and everyone lived happily ever after. A couple years later, a group of 6 Spartans pertaining of Kat, Carter, George, June, Emil, and 6 that go by Noble Team are tasked to destroy a carrier, and they are doing quite magnificent. But the only way to destroy the carrier is to explode it by sending off a nuke inside the ship. And he actually tries escaping on like a certain somebody. And then canonically, the words "Remember Reach" appear at the top of the planet. It's true, my uncle told me. Later they say, OG Noble 6. Let's replace him with some lone wolf alpha triad. And the new 6's mission is to take back a radio station that was seized by the rebels, so Keys can listen to that new. They fly in with a falcon and land to find no rebels, but instead Covenant. So they fight while some hype music is playing, and they get to the central control room. And they get ambushed by some zealots, and 6 and George have to chase them down as they have live hostages. And once they catch them, Kat is able to get the relay working for a bit, so Carter can listen to some Peak to pass the time. Later, they go to the Oni sword base to meet up with Halsey, and she tells them about a way to turn the war around, and that they need to go and get it. But a Covenant spire was discovered by June and 6, that's jamming the internet, so reach was cut off from Reddit. So, the UNSC sent an all-out attack on the spire. Kat crashes the Warhog, and her and 6 go on foot to destroy an AA gun. And after, 6 enters a Falcon with George and flies towards the spire. And once they see the force field around it, George tells the pilot to go in, but the power goes out in the Falcon, and they crash, killing everyone but 6 and George. You got that pilot killed. Hope you feel good about yourself. Dick. They disable the force field and they jump on a Falcon with Carter, where they watch the frigate Mac ground the spire and absolutely destroy it. But the victory is short-lived as...
New contact. High tonnage.
No.
They were being petty too. That frigate was way smaller than that ship, and it would have done no further damage. Like, not cool. Noble Team meet up in a cave and have the "Are we screwed" conversation. Carter says they're not, and he has a 5-step program to stop the Covenant. So they get back to Sword Base to evac the people out of there, and they find a way to join the fight in orbit. So they go to the launch base and take the jet rockets, which they use to defend the base in orbit. The UNSC puts Carter's plan into motion, and they hijack a smaller Covenant ship, which they're going to use to kamikaze into a Covenant cruiser with an antimatter bomb inside. But while taking over the ship, the bomb sustained damage, so George has to do it himself and launches 6 out of the Corvette and destroys the Covenant cruiser. And the day is saved. Hooray! Hooray! Hooray!
Slip space rupture detected.
Yeah, we're picking up anomalies too. Are you reading it?
God damn it. More cruisers start appearing through slip space portals, kinda making George's death for nothing. So 6 finds his way to New Alexandria, which is under attack, so he can connect up with the UNSC. And he evacuates civilians, but the Covies just say, nope. And they take down the ship. And 6 throws a flare so that a Pelican can find them and reconnect them with their team. Now 6 has to fly around New Alexandria and help the UNSC forces and escort Nathan Fillion. And 6 finally reconnects with the rest of Noble. But after a while, a glass beam goes off right next to their building. So they run, and Kat forgets to turn on her shields and gets one-shot. They then hear that Halsey is in an underground base, so they meet up with her and she gives them Cortana and tasks Noble to deliver to the Pillar of Autumn. While June escorts Halsey off planet, Carter, Emil, and 6 go to the salvage yard where the pillar is being built. On the way though, Carter sacrifices himself and Emil gets shanked, but 6 gives Cortana to the Captain Jake with keys. But instead of taking the Pelican out of reach, 6 opts to get on the Mac cannon and let the Pillar of Autumn take off. And 6 fights off the Covenant until they are taken down. And then they beat off the Elite and they go to hide in the cave. Yep.
right. Today we're talking about the Halo 5 Guardians Rex.
As the Pillar of Autumn is escaping reach, Delvedam sees it and has his cruiser follow it through slip space. When they finally catch up to the Pillar of Autumn, it had stumbled upon one of the Halo rings, so they plan to board the ship, destroy it, and explore the ring themselves. But inside the Pillar, Master Chief was suspended in cryosleep, and the personnel think now is the best time to finally release him. So Master Chief comes out, does his little thing where you move up and down, and is like, oh, as he needs to find a weapon. He gets the keys and tells him to GTFO as the ship is crashing and bring Cortana with him. But Master Chief is like, I need a weapon. So Keys just casually pulls out a magnum from his back pocket and gives it to him. So Chief fights his way through the pillar and escapes. Once he lands, everyone is dead and Master Chief just loots their bodies. Yeah, they won't need it anymore. And Master Chief just goes around fighting Covenant. Cortana makes a groundbreaking discovery and Chief meets up with Johnson. After that debacle, they deduce through the Force that Keys is on a Covenant ship, so they go and rescue him. He then goes and skedaddles on out of there. Master Chief then goes to the cartographer. That grunt bravely fights Master Chief. Master Chief then plugs Cortana into the cartographer and she tells him that Keys is in danger. So he goes to the Creepy Doodoo forest and then goes into the Creepy Doodoo structure where he finds everyone dead and wanders into a room with Jenkins' helmet on the floor. He plugs it into his head and sees a video playback of Johnson and Keys with a squad of Marines listening to some underground rap. Going into the room that Chief is currently in and getting attacked by the Flood, and the feed ends. The Flood into the room and kill Master Chief, ending the Halo timeline. Goodbye. Nah, Master Chief clears the room and now has to escape. And fair warning, if you're a dumbass and have no sense of direction like 12-year-old me, just watch a playthrough. So he gets out and meets a blue guy named 343 Guilty Spark. So 343 teleports Master Chief to the level equivalent of a sounding session, and Chief finds the index and is again teleported to the control room. But before Chief can use the index, Cortana stops him, saying that the ring is a weapon that destroyed all life to starve the Flood. Guilty Spark gets McMad, turning the Sentinels against Chief, but Cortana comes up with a plan that involves Keys. So they go to a flood-infested Covey ship and find a proto-gravemind with Keys in the middle. Ooh. So, Chief punches Keys and gets his activation thingy. Chief and Cortana with the chip go to the wreckage of the pillar to blow it up. So, they overload the reactor and the ship starts exploding. And Chief has to take a Warthog to a hangar where Chief finds a longsword and escapes with it. And their plan of saving everyone by blowing up the ring is successful. A couple of months later, Delvedam is escorted to his trial for failing to protect the ring that the Master Chief just exploded. And the prophets are like, "Hey bruv, why let the ring explode, yeah?" Which the Arbiter responds with, the Chief was too persistent and has a massive but he promises to do better. But the prophets are like, "Nah fam, we're sticking to your kicks, yeah?" Then the
Feel that of me.
proceeds to have his kick stripped and is then branded as a heretic. We then see Master Chief at the station of Chiron, Earth's orbit, getting fitted up with a new suit, and he meets up with Johnson in the elevator and is taken to a ceremony for blowing up the ring and saving everybody. But the party is cut short by a couple of cruisers, and the Admiral is kinda confused as this fleet is pussywings compared to the one on Reach, and Earth is the main planet for humanity. So the Unity slams them, Master Chief returns a bomb, but a single cruiser makes it through. It is at a major city, so the Chief has to go down there and take care of it. The Covenant then send a Scarab to help with the efforts of taking the city, but Johnson reveals that the Marines have soft hands and gives Chief a tank and sends them on their way, and he eventually deals with it.
Meanwhile,
Vel is being walked to what he thinks is a prison, but is escorted to another room where he's met by the Prophet Regret, and he's hailed as Arbiter, so now I can stop calling him Vel. He is sent to a Forerunner structure where he's supposed to kill a heretic that is hiding there. And it's successful, but 343 reveals to Arbiter the truth about the Forerunners, which makes him start doubting the whole thing already. Back on Earth, Chief, Miranda, and Johnson are on a frigate in the city when the cruiser starts to slip space jump out of there while inside the city. So Miranda follows the cruiser into the portal, and when the portal closes, an EMP type force is sent out, knocking some drop pods around. Okay, so I barely played ODST, so I'm gonna make this quick. So, right before, yes, I'm rewinding in a timeline video, so what? Nathan Fillion is talking about the cruiser, and the plan is to take it down. So, they drop, the cruiser leaves, sending everyone flying. Nathan lands and finds Romeo, and the other guy in orange drives off a cliff. The team blows up a building, and the rookie wakes up, and meets up with Fillion, and everyone is uninjured and happy. Going back to Chief, he's in a drop pod when they leave slip space, where they find another ring. Johnson spits out a cigar, and Chief has dropped into the ring, assaulting the Covenant-filled Forerunner structures, until he finds the Prophet of Regret and kills him. Over yonder, Arbiter's tasked to find the activation index inside the structure, so he finds Flood and fights his way to the room where it is. But Miranda and Johnson are trying to grab it, but the Arbiter's there to stop them. He's kind of losing until the Brutes show up and take Miranda and the index. And Tartarus betrays Arbiter, but he brings up how the prophets are going to feel about this, but Tartarus says that they ordered him to do it. So they blast him to the abyss. Back to Master Chief, he finds a gondola that takes him to an underwater structure. He clears the place and goes back up to the surface, where the Covenant attempt to glass Master Chief himself. And to escape, he jumps into the water and is taken by a hentai tentacle. Chief is dragged to the presence of the Gravemind. The Arbiter is dragged along too, and the Gravemind tells them what to do, and so it teleports them out of there and sends Chief to High Charity. He fights his way through High Charity, but as he's fighting, Cortana points out that the Covenant are undergoing some great schism. And are fighting each other, and the frigate that Chief came in on, now infested with Flood, crashes into High Charity, causing the Flood to scatter around and enter the fuckfest that's going on in High Charity. But Chief and Cortana decide to recycle their old plan from CE and explode the frigate inside of High Charity. Arbiter teleports in on the ring, and he has to stop Tartarus from activating the ring. So he finds his way through many dead elites due to the schism, and he gets on a Banshee and flies in. Johnson earlier got himself a Scarab, which is why he has one. I forgot to mention that. And is also helping the Arbiter get inside, which he does. And he finds Tartarus and Miranda. Arbiter attempts to reason with him, but he rejects and fights Arbiter, which he loses, and stops the activation. A Forerunner ship launches, and Chief hitches a ride and ends up teleporting to Earth. And the Admiral asks why he's on the ship, and Chief's dramatic ass says,
Sir, finishing this fight.
It's night now, and Chief decides to do his favorite thing and jump from the ship. Later on, Johnson, with some Marines and no one else, find Chief in a crater. Johnson caresses Chief, and Chief grabs him and is like, hey, it's not cool. Chief then sees a cloaked Arbiter and reasonably puts a gun in his mouth. Like, why are you cloaked right now? Anyways, Chief gets a weapon, and we learn that the Covenant has occupied Earth, or at least that's what it says on the back of the box. And Chief has to take it back. So, we leave the jungle to a hidden UNSC base where everyone sees the Chief and is like, yeah, that guy's pretty cool. We get debriefed, jump scared by the Prophet of Truth, and given the best one-liner in Halo history.
To war.
This works.
Now we have to evacuate the facility. But the Covenant put a bomb in place, so Chief has to take an elevator down and escape the bomb's warm embrace. And remembers his ex. Chief finds himself with a bunch of Marines and leads them to link up with other UNSC forces to take back a highway. After they do that, they see a cruiser open up a Forerunner facility that was somehow undiscovered and open a portal and send another Forerunner ship into it. Chief proceeds through the highway and ends up in the level of the storm, but there isn't one because they couldn't implement range since it didn't exist before 2009. Anyways, Chief finds a Scarab. He destroys it and is also sent to destroy a AA gun. But after a job well done, a Covenant cruiser comes out of slip space and it is affected with flood. It's all stinky. And by the way, I wholeheartedly believe that the Arbiter was being sarcastic here, but Master Chief just didn't catch it and just responded out of, ignorance. So they go back the way they came, they clear the area of flood, and they eventually find the way out and pick up a device and meet up with the shipmaster, Ron Perlman, and 343, where they access it and see a hologram of Cortana telling everyone about the Gravemind and the Ark. So the human elite forces go through the portal where they eventually end up at the Ark, where the Master Chief finds out that tank beats everything, and less important what the Ark does. So the UNSC and elites launch a final attack on the Covenant, but when Chief disabled one of the shields, High Charity comes out of slip space and crashes. But Arby and the Chief's mission was still set on catching the Prophet of Truth. So she destroys two Scarabs, protecting a sort of control room. So they enter the structure and they launch an assault on the control room. But here's where they learn of the Prophet's plan of firing all the rings in the array, wiping out the entire universe. But the Gravemind decides to team up with Chief and Arbiter to make sure they can get to the panel to stop the firing. So all the Covenant there just get manhandled and they finally reach Truth, but he's already showing signs of infection. But he's still someone in control. But Miranda comes in there with the perfect plan and interrupts Truth to get Johnson. I forgot to mention he was here since he got captured by the Covenant earlier. Dude couldn't handle a couple of brutes. So Miranda meets there to pick up Johnson and the boys. She gets out of the Pelican with a gun, someone has an exchange, and Miranda is shot by Truth. But the infection has gotten worse since it's, the flood. And he falls, so Arbiter picks him up and stabs him, but not before making him watch Chief disable the firing. But the flood turn on Chief and Arbiter and they try to hitch a ride with Johnson, but big tentacles come out and knock them off. And they have to epically fight the tentacle, and it's gone. So they find a safe place in the structure, but they see a Halo ring come out of the ground as the Ark is creating a replacement for the one Chief destroyed. Chief decides that since High Charity is right there, he might as well just grab Cortana. So he grabs a Banshee and sets off to go get her. In the most... Actually, you know what? I won't talk about this level until I've played it again, since I kind of like this game. Chief finds Cortana, takes her with him, and overloads the reactors. Again, Arbiter shows up and helps Chief, and they take off to the ring to fire it. Chief parks the Pelican as well as I can park a Prius, and sets off to the control room. Johnson gets there with Guilty Spark, and they all enter the room. But when Johnson says that they're firing it, instead of being happy that we're on the side of firing it for once, he starts pleading with them that it will destroy the ring and the Ark. And Johnson's like, yeah, that's the idea, dipshit. But Spark is like, oh no, and lasers Johnson and Arbiter. But Chief gets the drop on him and destroys him for good until he comes back. But I didn't read the book, so y'all don't get to hear about it. So Chief stays with Johnson until he dies, and now they have to get out of the ring before it blows up. So they get on a Warhog and start driving out of there while the ring explodes from under them. And I feel the need to mention it, even though it's been brought up so many times. The entire map is the island from the first level, or from the Solid Cartographer. So Chief finally gets to the forward Entredan, kills a grunt, and drives the Warhog into the ship. Arbiter gets up and nods and goes to somehow single-handedly fly the frigate. Guess he's just him. Chief hangs on and we see the ring explode. But before the whole ship can enter the portal, it closes. So Arbiter's side ends up on Earth while Chief is left drifting in space. So as not to die, he goes under cryosleep and tells Cortana to
Wake me when you need me.
And no other games have come out since. I just wanted to pop in and say thank you all for watching till the end. This video took way longer than it needed to, but granted, this is my first time making a video like this, and it kind of shows for some parts. I did plan on having the 3 for 3 games on here, but it would have taken way too long. However, if this video does decent, I'll probably make another video, but for now, guys, thank y'all. Thank y'all for watching. Goodbye.